Hello, my name is Maya Ferguson. I am in JS 0598 Master Program class, and my presentation is on the International Council of Women. The significance of the International Council of Women, it aims to bring together women's organizations from all countries. So the mission statement is the goal is to promote human rights, equality, peace, and women's involvement in all spheres of life throughout the establishment of an international federation or umbrella organization of national councils. Why did they create this organization? So, the aim of the conference was to form a national council of women in each self-governing country of the world. The councils would bring women from many countries together to work for women, not only in the cause of suffrage, but in many different fronts. So basically, there was always going to be something about suffrage, but there's always going to be outside factors that need to be worked on that they would come together and work upon each other with. The objectives of the International Council of Women were to pursue equal rights for women and men, promote peace and understanding through international cooperation, increase women's participation in decision-making for peace efforts, advocate for human rights and eliminating discrimination, support sustainable development, and to achieve their goals, they had collaborated with national councils, advisors, and United Nations representatives. Mae Sewell Wright. She's a co-founder. She co-founded the Indianapolis Equal Suffrage Society in 1878. She led a campaign for women's suffrage from 1881, to 1883. In 1891 to 1892, she traveled Europe to gain support for World's Congress of Representative Women. She focused on peace during World War I because that's what she did for work during that time, especially promoting the women's suffrage right and peace and everything that goes into it, which I will get into in different slides. And the International Council of Women was established and only conceived after she had discussion with two of the founders to push them to assist her with the organization and running it. So they advocated for international arbitration, combating human trafficking, and pushing for women's rights to vote. So I'm going to go through the two definitions for the first two because I feel like if you're unaware of what it is, I feel like I should explain it since this is a presentation. So international arbitration is a legal process that resolves disputes between companies, individuals, or governments across borders. It's often used in contracts to include a provision for future disputes. And combating human trafficking. Within the government, this means that the participation and coordination among agencies with a range of responsibilities, including criminal enforcement, labor enforcement, victim outreach and services, public awareness, education, trade, policy and promotion, international development and programs, customs and immigration. The International Council of Women was involved in. It was philanthropy, social work, and education. So philanthropy is the desire to promote the welfare of others, expressed especially by the generous donation of money to good causes. Social work is a profession in which trained professionals are devoted to help vulnerable people and communities work through challenges they face in everyday life. So social work that has a stigma of taking children away, but it works with family and child or family and home. It works with substance abuse and different types of problems that people will have in their everyday life. But I see going through the information that I have found on International Council of Women that most of the social work that is being done is family and home because it mostly focuses on wives. And the first convention meeting took place March 25th, April 1st, 1888. well, March 25th through April 1st, 1888. So this is one of my was the 40th anniversary of the Seneca Fall, New York. That was in 1848. But two of the founders, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, felt that there was an issue with everything because they felt that there hasn't been no development for women in the last 40 years and that the electoral politics were still mainly male dominant, which they didn't really agree with. And also, since the meeting was inclusively talking about suffrage, it also included very concerns that the women had, and it didn't only just focus on the political rights, but it also focused on temperance unions, literary clubs, labor unions, peace movements, missionary societies, moral purity campaigns, and charitable, professional, and educational societies. So this article is The Meeting of the International Council of Women by Cecil Matheson. And she's also one of the women that was involved in the International Council of Women. So this article basically goes over the different things talking about wife and child, endowment of motherhood, nationality of married women, and economy. So I'll go over those points, but I'll also add in a little few of her quotes that she had in her own writing, just so it's kind of background. So they thought the meeting that they were having was very important, that women from both ends of the earth will come together after everything that has happened in the last 40 years, after that last Seneca meeting. 28 national councils of women were represented, and several of the delegates acted as the official representatives of their respective governments. So I feel like that time they didn't have a firm thing on how to have these meetings. So Iceland, Ukraine, Yugoslavia, Uruguay were some of the countries that came. And it has more details in that article. So among the discussion, the League of Nations, education and child welfare, public health, and the equal moral standard, the position of women, and local opinion was discussed. And many things were resolved, and a lot of things were expressed and agreed upon. I'm going to start talking about wife and child. So the recommendation was carried that a wife should be legally entitled to a certain proportion of her husband's income. So this, especially during that time, was significant because women weren't able to vote and did not have many rights at that time. So if anything were to go wrong, I feel that was the argument, that women should have entitlement to their husband's money because they most times weren't able to actually work. So there's a quote, this will provide for independent ownership of individual property while stipulating that each should have certain rights over the property of the other, which must be taken into account in the measurement of such property. Endowment of motherhood. So this support was given for the opinions expressed by social workers who are continually face to face with the difficulties caused by the failure of inability of fathers to support their families. Nationality of married women. The obvious plea that a woman ought to adapt the nationality of the country in which she makes her home and have the protection of its laws also obscured the main difficulty. And it also says for this, one of the several women lawyers present argued the difficulty of coordinating the English and continual system of civil war, but the plea of some of the British speakers that we should not wait for a perfect and coordinated international solution. And lastly, economy. So over economy, it kind of was just the success of women being able to vote. So women have now the right to vote in nearly 30 countries. They sit in parliament and parliament and can, in many places, enter the legal profession. Lawyers were a small minority in the meetings, but the meetings as a whole showed keen appreciation of the legal position in regard to the most of the points raised and considerable knowledge of the laws of their own and often other countries. Council of Women. This is also from one of my annotated bibliography sources, and it was written based off of the 1921 meeting that had 28 representatives. The main discussion that everything was centered around was League of Nations, education, child welfare, public health, moral standards, women's rights, local governments. And the most significant thing about that meeting was that nearly everyone had agreed about the resolutions despite everyone's diverse background, and that's very significant because women all over the country do experience different lives, but the fact that they were all able to agree on the same things showed that they all were suffering from the same problems and they all wanted to change. And on the right, there's just some more writing if you wanted to read by as I went through the slides, but I felt like the most significant was what I had went over. So for the 41st session of Commission on Status of Women 1997, March 10th to the 21st, there's a clip that you could press, and I have the time slots basically from 30 minutes, and it starts right at the video and it goes into 32:26. You could click on that, and I'm just talking about it now because I'm going right into the next video afterwards. I just wanted this video to kind of show how the meetings went with the International Council of Women and how it portrayed itself to be.
From day one, or perhaps the news on the last day that the NGO forum would be moved from Beijing to Huairou and the uproar it caused. No, it wasn't an easy time. The debates of that period were more heated and more emotionally charged, and not coincidentally, the most controversial issues were women's issues, not geopolitical. The level and intensity of the debates were also due to the extraordinarily participatory character of the conference and its preparations at the national, regional, and global levels. So the hard-fought and well-earned consensus that we reached at 4:45 in the morning on Friday, September 15th in Beijing was something we all owned and we all shared. Today, we all own and share the great responsibility of implementing the platform for action. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Laquanan. To you. Our first message is from Ms. Janet Cockcroft of the United Kingdom, who served as chairperson of the Commission in 1978. And she says, I send my very best wishes for a successful meeting, which will lead to further progress towards a better life for women the world over, and I regret that I cannot be with you. We have a message also from Ms. Hanna Boka-Szeszko of Hungary, who served as chairperson of the Commission in 1969. Ms. Boka writes, it was my great pleasure to have the opportunity to participate in the work of the Commission for 12 years. This prestigious body plays an historic role in developing an attitude leading to the full acknowledgement of the equality between women and men, and in the substantial changes having occurred lately in the status of women worldwide. I feel especially honored that the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women was adopted with my humble contribution. I am convinced that this international instrument is an integral part of the efforts of the United Nations to achieve the noble objective of the Charter of the United Nations to eliminate all kinds of discrimination, including discrimination against women and girls. Our third message is from Ms. Joanna Donal of Austria.
to put the focus on the crucial issues of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs, and to stress the importance of ensuring that gender perspectives are fully integrated into them. So you'll see more of that on the last bullet point that I mentioned. So 45 to 80% of food production is accounted by women. So basically it's saying their responsibilities is securing food, water, and to cook it. Climate change is affecting their livelihoods because it goes into different ways of how people collect water and food in different countries and how they're cooking that food. The International Council of Women have realized women play a significant role in environmental disaster reduction, and they wanted others to join the cause and to take action to help push policies revolved around the meeting significant points. So, moving forward, this slide shows about 6 to 8 different pictures. So the middle one I would say was during the march for, I don't want to say it was during the women's suffrage march, but if it was, that was in 1913. The 1888 pictures of the founders and also other women that participated in it. I want to say the right corner is the founders, and there's just other pictures that are a part of International Council of Women, what they stood for.